Welcome back to my channel, Bring Peace into Your Life. Today I would like to talk about how to deal with people who don't respect your boundaries. So we've talked before about building peace in our relationships, navigating tough talks and setting healthy boundaries. But what happens when you've clearly laid out your limits and your boundaries and someone just doesn't seem to respect them? Maybe it's a family member who keeps pushing into your personal space, a friend who always asks for favours even when you said you can't, or a colleague who crosses lines with their comments. Whatever the case, dealing with boundary disrespect can leave us feeling frustrated, unvalued, and off balance. And that's the opposite of the peace we're working to build. Today we'll talk through practical, kind but firm ways to handle these situations. We'll look at new ways to deal with this and ways that you can put into practice to help you when someone doesn't respect your boundaries. Tools to protect your well-being and strengthen your connections. It's really important to check in with yourself first. So before we address the other person, you need to start from within, because how we approach boundary issues often depends on our own mindset. First, confirm your boundary is clear and consistent. Ask yourself, did I communicate it directly in simple terms? Sometimes we overcomplicate when we put a boundary in. If we can actually think, was I clear with this person? Did I put the boundary in place? And did I make sure it wasn't vague so people can genuinely understand what the boundary is? Sometimes people misunderstand what we need, and that's okay. So it's about looking at, have I projected myself properly, and have I expressed what the boundary is, and have I made it clear? Then we have to let go of the need to please everyone. It's normal to worry about hurting someone's feelings, but remember, setting and upholding boundaries isn't selfish. It's how we care for ourselves so we can show up fully in relationships. And finally, what we need to recognise is that boundary disrespect isn't about you. When someone ignores your limits, it usually reflects on their own struggles. Maybe they're used to a certain dynamic between you, or they struggle with respecting others' autonomy. This doesn't excuse their behaviour, but it can help us respond with compassion instead of anger. When someone crosses your boundary, how you react in the moment can make a big difference. Here are 3 go-to approaches that keep peace at the centre of it. One is the gentle redirection. Use this when the person might not realise they're crossing a line. So for example, I know you're excited to share your news and I love hearing from you, but we'd agreed to keep our calls to weekdays. Could we schedule a time tomorrow to chat properly? I want to be fully present and give you the attention that you need and deserve. This reinforces the boundary while showing you still care about them and what they have to say. The second thing that you can do is the firm reaffirmation. Use this when the boundary has been communicated before, but they've forgotten or brushed it off. An example is, I need to be clear, I've shared that I can't lend money right now and that hasn't changed. I understand things are tough and I want to support you in other ways, like helping you look for local resources or budgeting tools, but lending money isn't something I can do. Stick to I statements. Avoid apologising for your boundary and offer alternative support if you're able to. The more you can say that this is my boundary and this is what I can and can't offer, it hopefully will be heard by the person. Thirdly is what is called the pause or step back. So use this when the person is pushing aggressively or you feel overwhelmed. So for example, I can see we're not on the same page about this right now. I need to take a break and come back to this conversation when we're both calmer. Sometimes stepping away prevents the situation from escalating and gives both of you time to process. It's not giving up, it's choosing to handle things in a way that preserves respect for everyone involved. And sometimes we have to take a step back and breathe. If this type of behaviour continues from someone after you've addressed it in the moment, a calm follow-up conversation is key. I'll give you examples of how to structure it because this can be uncomfortable, especially when you've given your boundaries out and someone has crossed them. Start with connection. I value our relationship and I want us to be on good terms. That's why I wanted to talk to you about something that's been on my mind. State the issue clearly and make sure you're being clear. So an example could be, over the past few weeks, I've mentioned that I need space on weekends to recharge, but I've still been getting messages and calls during that time. You need to then explain the impact on you so that the person understands. When this happens, I feel drained and like my needs aren't being respected, which makes it hard for me to be present when we do spend time together. And then you have to restate the boundary and ask for what you need. Examples could be, moving forward, I won't be checking messages or taking non-emergency calls on weekends. I'd love to plan a time each Sunday evening to catch up. Would that work for you? Listen to the other person's perspective, but stand firm. If they argue or minimise your feelings, you might need to repeat your boundary without engaging in debate. I understand you feel that way, but my needs are still the same. Sometimes it can be very difficult for people if you start putting boundaries in place when you've not had them before. So the best way to handle this is with kindness, but also being firm and making sure you're taking care of yourself within the conversation. While we all hope relationships can be repaired, there are times when consistent boundary disrespect becomes harmful. So we try our best in relationships and we want to make sure that we're both getting what we want and need out of it and we're being respected. But sometimes people can't actually do that, and we need to then make the decision on if this is a person that you want to be in relationship with. So if this does happen, ask yourself, is this behaviour having a negative impact on my mental or emotional health? Have I communicated my boundaries multiple times and nothing has changed? And does the person dismiss, criticise, or guilt trip me for setting limits? This can be really hard, but I would say if you've tried all the other things that I've suggested and it does get to this point, you need to start thinking to yourself, if any of these things that I've just said are the case, so if I can say yes to any of these, it may be necessary to limit contact or even look at whether the relationship is important enough to keep. This isn't a failure, it's an act of self-protection, and sometimes we need to take a step back and think, is this person bringing to my life? Are they adding to my life, or are they actually causing me distress or mental health problems? And it's something you really need to be honest with yourself about. This can be a really, really difficult conversation and really hard to do, but you might have to say something like, I've tried everything I can to make our relationship work while honouring my needs, but it's clear we can't respect each other's boundaries. I need to take some time apart to focus on my well-being. I wish you all the best. This is never easy, but choosing peace for yourself is one of the most loving things that you can do. When something like this happens and you do need to disconnect from someone in your life, it's very important to take care of yourself. So dealing with boundary disrespect can be emotionally draining. So it's important to care for yourself afterwards, especially if you've had to distance yourself from someone in your life. So acknowledge your feelings. It's okay to feel sad, angry, or relieved. Let yourself sit with those emotions without judgment. Celebrate your courage. Standing up for your boundaries takes strength. Give yourself credit for doing the hard work. Surround yourself with support. Spend time with people who respect your limits and make you feel valued and respected. And sometimes it's good to review and refine. So if needed, adjust how you communicate your boundaries in the future. Every experience is a chance to learn and work on your own skills with communication, and that can be really helpful moving forward. Building peace in our lives means not only setting boundaries but also having the courage to protect them. When we do this, we create space for relationships that are based on mutual respect, trust and care, and that's where true peace lies. I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever had to deal with someone not respecting your boundaries? What approach worked for you? Drop a comment and let people see what could be useful for them and what advice they could get from other people that watch my videos. If this video helped you, please give it a like. And if you need any more tools or structures, please look at the rest of my videos and see if any of it is helpful. It's been lovely doing a new video for you. I hope you're all well, and I will see you in the next one.